worked out everything that we didn't like about the industry and how services were being provided. So it was a rant. And then once we got that list, we then flipped it and then worked out, oh, so what is the opposite of this rant?
I'd like to introduce Bevan O'Connor from Visa Max. Bevan, welcome.
Thank you very much, Claudia. Cheers.
Thank you so much for joining us. So Bevan is an immigration advisor. He and his firm are New Zealand's visa and immigration experts. Bevan is, so he's based in Wellington, and we were just talking before I introduced Bevan because his business is actually named after his dog, Max. And then Bevan was telling me that more and more people are bringing their dog to work. And what did you call it?
Flexible.
Flexible.
Off the top of my head, yeah.
More and more flexible workplaces. Cool. So thank you so much, Bevan. Right. So we'll dive right in with the important questions. So the first question that I'm super interested to learn more about is, what is your firm's mission and vision?
Yeah, so with Visa Max, our vision is that we're helping create a better New Zealand. And this year we've worked on our core values in July, which are now on our website and forming part of our position descriptions as well. And those are threefold, and the values are vision, value, and victory. So for vision is to see Kiwis. Yeah, 3 V's. Nice alliteration and sending a powerful message. So yeah, vision is to see Kiwis and migrants living and working together to create a better New Zealand. Value is understanding our clients' needs and delivering on our commitments. And victory is sharing our strengths and accomplishing wins together with our clients and as a team.
Awesome. And so you said you've done some work on those this year. So how did you come up with that? And the reason I asked that is I know that a lot of law firm owners sort of struggle with kind of creating this for their firm. So can you tell us a bit about that?
The work for it actually started back in December and January, December last year, January this year, knowing that we had to have something which defined the culture and how we wanted to work and what we were, as opposed to previous organizations I've been with. I've worked in the government, I've worked in private practice law firms and other immigration advice firms. So I really wanted to take the opportunity to build my own thing and establish my own vibe and feel in the immigration industry. So we actually wrote down, it was just me and my admin staff member at the time, just 2 of us at the time at the end of last year, start of this year. And we worked out everything that we didn't like about the industry and how services were being provided. So it was a rant, so detailing everything that we didn't like. And then once we got that list, about 1.5, 2 pages long, we then flipped it and then worked out, oh, so what is the opposite of this rant? What are the positive values and things that we want to focus on for Visa Max? And so totally flipped it. Our initial values and mission statement was a lot bigger. It was about 4 or 5 points, and it was actually a little bit messy, covered everything we wanted to. But then we spent some time with a HR contractor who's helping us in June and July this year, who helped us again to define it right down to 3 core points, which I shared with you today. So starting off with the negative, turning it into a positive, basically.
Yeah, I love that as a process. That's a really sort of practical way of going about it. And so you mentioned that you're bringing sort of the mission, vision, core values into your job descriptions. So it sounds like your team's grown a bit. So can you tell me a bit about your team and the makeup of your team?
Yeah, so up until still 12 months ago today, it was still just me, and then brought on an admin staff member as the first step to help me with my workload. But now we've got 4 full-time staff two part-time staff, two contractors who are working with us, and today actually I'll be sending out a job offer to another staff member to start in around 4 to 6 weeks time. So that'll bring us up to 5 full-time staff.
Right. And so that new person, what will their role be?
There'll be an immigration advisor as well, working
Right.
full-time. Yeah.
Yeah. And is that to free you up even more from that sort of work? Yeah.
Yeah. So as I've brought on, so there's 3 advisors in the business, soon to be 4. Each time we've brought on a new person, it's helped free me up quite a bit. And this next hire will, I don't want to sound too quick, but yeah, I feel like I'm going to be semi-retired.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's the dream, right? So I know that you've had quite a journey since COVID. So can you tell me a bit about what your average monthly revenue is now, or what it's been this month or last month, and how that's sort of changed since over the last 12 to 18 months?
Yeah, it's been massive change. So on average, for the past 5 or 6 months, we're around, we've had some $110,000 months, 100,000, 90, 80. So it's around, on average, would be about 90 to 95,000 revenue a month. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then comparing that to last year, there's absolutely no comparison at all.
Yeah.
It would have been about 5 to 10 to a good month would have been $15,000 or $20,000 a month last year.
Mm-hmm.
And that would have been a really good month. But now that's, like I say, there's no comparison at all.
Yeah, so that's really fast growth. You've basically sort of 9x your business in the space of a year or so. And so, what is your usual profit margin?
I think it's around 60%. Yeah, and that's actually probably a little bit less than it was. But as the team has grown, of course, there's other costs and stuff involved with that. So it is around the 60% mark.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so can you tell me a bit about how you've got this growth? Like, what sort of strategies have you implemented to get that growth?
So the big things have been, really at the start of this year was identifying an ideal client, and that is large employers of migrants, and that's worked really well for us, and it's taken away a lot of the cash flow headaches. And we're still getting upwards of between $5,000 to $8,000 of new work from one ideal client, one large employer of migrants every week. So that's really nice and steady.
Mm-hmm.
The other things that we've been doing was a cold calling campaign at the start of this year, which worked really well. And we're actually going to be doing it again starting next week, again, but a bit more focused than when we were new to it back in January. And the final thing is Facebook advertising as well.
Mm-hmm.
In the past 6 weeks, we've got some really good results from that. We're on the second rendition of the ad now, just repeating the same ad. The first time we did it for 3 weeks, we got about 75 new inquiries just from the ad.
Mm-hmm.
And already just a couple of weeks into the rerun, there's about 45 new contacts from it just in the past 2 weeks. So those
That's
3
awesome.
things. Yeah.
And so, keen to dig into that a bit. So with the ideal client, because this is kind of like, now that you've experienced this, you will understand how foundational, like drilling down and figuring out who it is that you're passionate about serving, who you get really good results for, so that you can go out and find more of those types of clients. And often lawyers and professional service providers, they're worried that if they focus on one type of ideal client, then their revenue will drop. They won't be able to find enough of those types of clients. So did you find like focusing on one ideal client in the beginning tricky?
Definitely some sleepless nights and thinking, if I go with this type of client, then
Yeah.
it's at the exclusion of everyone else. And it hasn't really happened like that. But yeah, just in January, focusing on who our ideal client is, working out a little bit about the messaging. How do we reach out to them? How do we attract them? What's our service offering?
Mhm.
Well, yeah, now I look back at 8, 9 months down the line and it's like, what was I worrying about? It all worked out pretty much straight away, and it's continued on and gotten stronger over time. So it's just
Mm.
about, yeah, really taking that leap. And a lot of it now seems to me like it's common sense. It's not something to be scared or, yeah, iffy about. It works. And yeah, I'm the biggest advocate for focusing on the ideal client. I know it's not just the same for legal services industries, it's for anything that you're doing.
Mm.
Identify who your ideal client is and then target them, market them, and make their lives easier through the
Mm.
services that you're providing or product.
Mm. And was it hard for you to decide on sort of the corporates that employ people that need visas rather than focusing? Because I guess you had a few different options. So was it tricky to kind of pick one,
Um, it
like that
wasn't
particular
tricky.
one?
Wasn't tricky to pick it. Yeah, that didn't take very long to work out at all.
Mm.
I guess just from my experience in the industry and seeing what the needs are of the big employer
Yeah.
bases are. So very, very easy decision. But then it was more about, okay, now that we've worked out who it is, the challenge was really how do we reach them and then convince them that they should come with us and not another provider.
Mm. And so how did you do that?
So, well, yeah, as you know, I started with scale up program this year. So I had no knowledge about marketing, very much coming from lawyer mindset about I can survive off word of mouth and referrals.
Yeah.
I'll just stick to what I know. I don't want to put my face out there. I don't want to have any pictures of me. I definitely don't want to be on social media. So these have been big turnarounds. So there's yeah, um, social media, and it's kind of a case like we've built up other ideal clients from the work we're doing with existing ideal clients. So
Mm.
there's still a word of mouth there, but it's word of mouth between ideal clients wanting to go, oh, Bevan and VisaMax are doing absolutely amazing work for us. You should have a talk to them. So we're still able to get that word of mouth, but at
Mhm.
the level of client that we want. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. And so you mentioned that one of the initial things that you did was a cold calling campaign. And this is really interesting because I think a lot of sort of legal services providers would think that that's kind of perhaps, what's the word, like dirty business or salesy or
Hmm.
not kind of professional, and which I completely disagree with. But can you tell us about how you did it and sort of the results that you got?
Sure. So, yeah, like I said earlier, it was a little bit unrefined, but um, and we're going to be doing it again in a much more refined way now that we've learned so much over the past 8 or 9 months. But of course, you have to work out yeah, who your ideal client is, and then start to build up a database or access the database of their contact details. So um, there was a friend of mine who works in sales and marketing. We worked on it together, and he basically went through Google, looking for all of the big employers across many different industries, and we've got a couple of thousand and a couple of thousand contact details for our ideal clients in New Zealand across a range of different industries. So yeah,
Mhm.
first step was organizing the database, and then second point was working out what our script was for the phone calls, working out what our script is for the follow-up emails for people who are interested, and then making the time for the calls, and then also recording all of the notes. So I didn't do it myself. My friend did it all over the space of about a week and a half or 2 weeks. And we got, on review of all of the statistics, we realized that the conversion percentage is actually very low. It's only a couple of percent. So out of 400 to 600 calls that he made, we had about 200 people that were interested, and we sent out emails to. And then out of that, we booked maybe 10 appointments, and out of that, we booked about 2 or 3 actual clients. So it is hard graft for sure, but
the
it
numbers
worked.
game. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so did that sort of get you those first couple of big employer clients? Yeah, which is really, it's a really important point, because I think when we are niching and we are picking an ideal client, sometimes we have access to a whole lot of those ideal clients through our network or in our existing client list. But sometimes we don't. And so how do we go about finding them? And often people think, well, I'll run ads. And I mean, ads can be good, but they're not a given that they're going to work. And sometimes they don't, or often they don't to start with. So it's really good to hear that there's other options like what you've just talked about. And yet, like you say, it's hard graft, but getting these things off the ground is always a bit of a hustle in the beginning, and you do things like this, but at the same time you learn so much as you go, and you learn a lot about your ideal client through the conversations as well. So they are super important. What about, so you mentioned Facebook ads and how you've had some great results from that, and particularly this latest campaign, you're already seeing really good results. So how are you running these campaigns? Are you doing them yourself, or are you getting an agency to do them? Tell me a bit about that.
So the friend that I worked on with the cold calling campaign during this year, he started his own marketing company based on the success that we've had in VisaMax. And also, as we've brought in ideal clients, we've realized that those ideal clients also need help with their social media marketing and websites and website development and social media monitoring and copywriting and all of those things that go along with marketing. So on the back of that, he's been able to create a business. So he's been helping me with the Facebook advertising from January and right through till now. So we get to work really closely together on the strategy and what we want to be advertising, what it looks like. He's got a designer working for him now. So we work really closely on what we want to do, and then we just get on and do it. I really gave him the short straw for the first 6 months of the year because I was very anxious about wanting to spend too much money on advertising. I wasn't used to it, didn't know what returns it would get. So I'd give him a $300 budget. Please go and run this ad for $300. Let's see what happens. Of course, nothing much happened. We'd get some more reach, some more likes, some more followers, but we weren't really converting it into leads and paying work. So big difference was, it was only 4 or 5 weeks ago, decided for this ad that we're going to run, we'll put on a $500 budget, and it got some good results. And then it's going really well. Let's put another 300 on, and it worked even better. And then this time we're starting off with an $800 budget, and we might bump it up another 200, make it an even 1,000 for the month. But we only need one client, and that'll pay for the whole campaign and even the time put into the design and organizing the copy and stuff like that. So we've had much more than one client in the past 5 or 6 weeks. There's more around 15, I think, from that ad. So definitely good return on investment for that.
Yeah, because what is your average spend per client?
For the advertising?
No, so the clients that the advertising is bringing in, what on average, how much would they spend with you?
So, okay, I see. So the ad is running a deal for a certain type of residence application, and that's 17.25 including GST. And yeah, for a bit more detail, the cost on VisaMax to process that visa is around $335.
And is that including the ad spend?
That might be a little bit more then. That might be around 340 to 350 per client. Yeah.
Right.
In total. Yeah.
Yeah. So so if you're getting 15 clients, and it's about 17.25 per client, so whatever that 20 is, that about 25K, and you spend $1,000 on advertising, is that right? So you spent $1,000 to make $25,000. So that is, yeah, really awesome return on investment.
Yeah.
I'm a maths nerd. I love working out the the numbers. So, but also it's really important for people to hear that, because I think sometimes all they hear is it costs $1,000, but if you put it in perspective, like, will you pay $1,000 to get $25,000 back? It's a mind shift that I think is really important to focus on.
Oh yeah, and it's the same for me as well. Like I'm still learning and still getting comfortable to pay $1,000, because like you say, you hear $1,000, it's a big number, but now I can see the results, and that's what is really counting.
Yeah. And I think another important point about your experience is that so you did it the first time and it worked quite well. You got some results, and now you're doing it again and getting better results. And I think that's important as well, because often we want these things to work perfectly the first time. And, you know, as lawyers and sort of, you know, legal services providers, we're often quite, you know, perfectionists. We want things to be perfect, and if they're not, then we think that they do not work. So it's really important to you know, try these things and keep refining and looking at the results and seeing how to refine them and do it again, and keep chipping away at it till you get it to where you want it to be. So moving away sort of from marketing for a sec, can you tell us a bit about the tech that you use at your firm?
Yeah, for sure. So,
and that may include marketing tech. Yeah.
Marketing tech, I know that yeah, my friend's using Hootsuite, but I don't know much else apart from that.
Yeah.
But within VisaMax, we're using Action Step primarily since June or July this year. And
How are you finding it?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a game changer. So I've used it before in a previous law firm 5 or 6 years ago. I wasn't really getting the best out of it. So now really determined to start using it properly. And now that I've got an understanding about things like API and integrations and Zapier, I want to be getting into that side of things as well in time. But like I say, we've only been using it a couple of months, so we'll get there.
And can I ask, how are you getting better results from it this time? Is it through the integrations?
Mainly through the workflows, using the workflows properly, the steps and the step tree properly, and then setting up automated tasks under those. When you change the step, it'll send out a email to the client to let them know that their application's lodged or approved, or yeah, so just streamlining a bit of that automation within Action Step is really effective tool. But apart from that, we're not using too many other Flash things at the moment. We've still got a few spreadsheets, Google Sheets and Excel sheets in the background for recording some statistics. That's a little bit of me just holding on to the past, because I know that Action Step's got a lot of reporting in there, but I still haven't made the full step across to relying 100% on Action Step, but that's just on me.
Yeah. Do you use Action Step to sort of monitor and record sort of like your inquiries and leads and that sort of thing, or what do you use for that?
very good and very timely question. We've only just started recording our inquiries properly this month. So I'm doing that by a spreadsheet again.
Google Sheet, yeah.
Yeah, Google Sheet for sure. It's sitting here on my desktop right now.
But it's kind of important to, I think, to start like that, to understand like where they're coming from, and then you can automate it. Because otherwise, if you try and automate it right off the bat, it's like garbage in, garbage out. So yeah, I'm all for a Google Sheet to start with, but not for too long.
Yeah. It's going well.
Yeah.
But I know that there's functionality with an action step too when you're creating a contact or setting things up that you can show where the source is or where they've come from, so that it helps with the sales and marketing side as well. We'll get there. Yeah,
cool. And so with your immigration services, do you offer them online?
So we're basically fully remote operating business. So with our staff, there's me and two of us in Wellington, two in the Hawke's Bay, and one down in Waimate in South Canterbury. Our next hire is going to be in Hamilton. So we're spread all around.
Yeah.
But I'd say 95 to 98% of what we do is all remote. So that's emails, phone calls, Zoom or video conferencing as well. So in terms of online, that's what we're doing. But the bigger vision and goal I have for not just for VisaMax, but for seeing change within the visa and immigration industry is to move more actual systems and processes online that clients anywhere in the world can jump on and handle quite a bit, if not all, of their visa process for New Zealand online. It's not something that's out there so much at the moment. So if VisaMax can be a leader on that, which we are already making those steps, then that will mean actual online services being provided in the way that people see it now, like being able to go on and do everything online, not really having to talk to anyone, and can access it any time of the day, anywhere in the world. So that's where we're heading step by step.
Awesome. That's exciting. What do you see as the biggest barriers to growing your firm?
Of course, being in the immigration industry, the biggest barrier is the border closures, of course. So they're shut. And I really just think it amazes me how well VisaMax has done, given the border has been closed for over 18 months now. I just know that when things open up little by little by little in a very controlled, managed way, is all good. Every time there's one turn of the knob, then we're going to get, much more opportunity there. So that's the biggest one. I think that's the biggest one for quite a few different industries. So COVID and the border closure is definitely the biggest barrier. Yeah,
I can imagine that. And you're right. It's incredible how well you've done given the state of things. So final question. If there was one thing that you could change about the legal industry, what would it be?
I think, a big thing for us, and it's why it's incorporated in our values, is having the value of value. So with that, I mean fairer fees and easier access to legal services, and having a friendlier face behind it as well. Kiwi, Māori and Pakeha person, so there's not too many other Māori law firm or legal service provider owners out there. So I'm proud to represent quite a different face from what we've traditionally known in the legal industry, is having Māori ownership, Māori leadership, and fair fees is a big underlying value for VisaMax, and just being friendly and positive as well, rather than being stoic. And those are the main points, I reckon.
Awesome. And so if anyone wants to come and check you out online, what's your website?
It's www.visamaxnz.com.
Awesome. And what about social media? What are you on?
Primarily Facebook, and that's Facebook /VisaMaxNZ.
Mhm.
And I'm just slowly getting into LinkedIn as well. And
Okay.
you'll find me under my name there, Bevan O'Connor. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Bevan. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm always really fascinated to hear what you're doing in the marketing sphere, and a massive congratulations once again on your epic growth in the immigrations area over the last sort of 12 months or so. It's just fantastic to see.
If there's anything these past months have shown us, it's that the time to make lasting, impactful change in the legal industry is right now. So I want to challenge you to shake things up and create change today. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and share this video with your lawyer friends. See you next week.